Hi, welcome to Stories with Lori. Quite a few weeks ago, I read you the first part of this great book on space, and we learned all about each planet. Well, I figured I'd better finish the book for you so we can start to learn about the solar system. All right? So first off, we have stars and the sun. So I don't know how much you know about stars. Let's learn. People who watch the skies are called astronomers. They use telescopes to study the sky and look at planets, stars, and galaxies, and cosmic events like supernovas. People have been looking at the stars for thousands of years. It's impossible to imagine just how many stars there are in the universe. And many important space discoveries have been made by people using telescopes like this one. This is the Big Dipper constellation, so it looks like a big dipping spoon. See that? So sometimes you can see it. There's a little dipper and this big dipper. And it also says that this is the North Star, the brightest in the entire sky. And when you look up, when you really see that super bright star, you always know it's the North Star. And then when we talk about the sun, oh boy, the sun is the star at the middle of our solar system. And it gives us heat and light for life on Earth. It's a giant burning ball of hydrogen and helium gas. Did you know that? With a surface temperature of 9,900 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, that is super hot. The sun is so big, its diameter is 109 times that of Earth. Look at that. So the diameter, or the space across, the line across the whole thing through the middle, the length, the diameter, it's 109 times that of Earth. Sudden huge explosions of energy are called solar flares from the sun. The red areas of the sun are actually the coolest. You'd think they were the hottest, but they're the coolest. And the energy from the sun is called the solar wind. The haze is called the corona. So it's the corona that is the haze around the sun. Space rocks. That just sounds cool, right? Space rocks. Some people actually have them. They say they've fallen out of the sky. This is the meteor crater in Arizona, here in the United States. The crater is 558 feet deep. The meteorite that made this crater broke off from a huge asteroid in space. And the meteorite crashed on Earth about 50,000 years ago, they believe. Space is home to rocks of all shapes and sizes. There are icy, shimmering comets orbiting the sun, huge, irregularly shaped asteroids the size of planets, and meteors that can enter the Earth's atmosphere as shooting stars. So that's a little bit about space rocks. And next up, we have the satellites. So man-made satellites are very useful. We use them to monitor space and our planet. Orbiting the Earth, they send data and signals back down to satellite dishes. And since the first satellite, Sputnik 1, was launched in 1957 by Russia, there are now thousands of satellites orbiting the Earth. And it says this satellite dish is located on Earth, and it communicates with satellites all the way in space. And satellites are used every day. Satellite TV, our mobile devices like our phones, weather reporting, and also for navigation. Of course, right? That's what we use these satellites for. And incoming signals are received by the curved dish. Then we have the moon, of course. Gorgeous, right? The moon is a dry, dusty place with no air. It is covered in hollows called craters made by huge meteoroids crashing into its surface, which still happens today. Ocean tides on Earth are caused by the moon's gravitational force. The moon is the only place in space where humans have actually landed. And it shows you here how the moon takes 27 days, 7 hours, 43 minutes, 11 seconds to orbit the Earth. So the moon takes a full 27 days to go around Earth. And then the moon's surface, as you see here, it is covered in impact craters. And that's a sense of what it looks like. Lunar module, this carried a crew of 2 from the lunar orbit to the moon's surface and back. The moon is an incredible 4.5 billion years old. Can't even fathom something like that. So that gives you a little bit of a sense of the moon, the only planet where man has landed. space station and exploring Mars. That's what we have next. Do you know a little bit about the space station, the ISS, the International Space Station? It's right here. The ISS is about the same length as a soccer pitch. It was launched in 1998. It has orbited the Earth more than 55,000 times, and these solar arrays help power the space station. Space stations are manned satellites that travel in a low orbit of the Earth. They allow astronauts to live and work in space for long periods of time, and other spacecraft can actually dock onto them. The longest serving and biggest space station ever is the ISS, the International Space Station. And on board there is general living space, a gym, and laboratories. Look at that. I mean, it's just so cool looking, right? Do you ever think you might want to be an astronaut and go to the ISS? And then you can also explore Mars. Look at this, the red planet. Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has taken astonishing pictures of its surface. And there you see one of these orbiters. Gullies discovered on the surface of Mars could have been formed by water. They always think there is water on Mars, and that's why life could exist there. In recent years, many rockets have launched orbiters, landers, and rovers into space to study and explore Mars. 2 rovers have landed on Mars and roamed its surface. They have taken over 100,000 photographs, as well as collected lots and lots of data about Martian rocks. And that's how they know about the surface and the amount of water. Then we get into rockets and astronauts. Again, is this something you might want to do? Pretty cool. Rockets. Every space mission begins at mission control, where a team of scientists and engineers prepare to launch a rocket into space. Huge rockets are ignited on a launch pad, and the rockets gain enough power to take off, rise up, and enter space, climbing over 1,000 feet in a few seconds. So fast. This rocket is 70 feet tall. Rockets are so powerful they shoot up high into the atmosphere. This Falcon rocket is as heavy as 12,000 bags of sugar. And the biggest rocket ever, do you know what it was? Saturn V, at over 300 feet long. Whew. And then the mission control tends to look like this, where all the engineers are, and they're communicating constantly with the different rockets. And then the astronauts, of course, are the famous men and women who go up into space. Astronauts are brave men and women who venture into space. They are sent on special missions. Some astronauts have landed on the moon, while others are sent to work on space stations orbiting the Earth, like the ISS. And this says oxygen supply tank is here on the back. Protective helmet, of course. This astronaut is out of a space walk, is out on a spacewalk right now, wearing this spacesuit, and then they're always tethered or kind of tied to their space station. Amazing. And then we have the space shuttle and space tourism, which is the next chapter in our universe. The space shuttle was the world's first reusable spacecraft, so it's reusable. And it carried large satellites to and from orbit around the Earth. It zoomed into space like a rocket. It sat in Earth's orbit like a spacecraft, and then it landed back on Earth like an airplane, transporting crew and equipment up to space stations such as the ISS. This says the orbiter houses the crew, which is right here. So this is the orbiter. The external tank holds fuel for the main engines. And then this is burning fuel, creates huge clouds of smoke. NASA launched the final space shuttle in 2011, and then the space shuttle program ended. As far as space tourism, it says, how about a trip into space for your next vacation? It's very possible, with companies like Virgin Galactic developing new spacecraft to do so. And scientists hope that one day we might actually be able to use some special spacecraft to travel across the world in 3 hours. Across the world in 3 hours. That's like the distance from Florida to New York City. Tickets for trips into space will cost $200,000, they say. And passengers will experience zero gravity. We have gravity here on Earth, but we won't have it there. So if you drop something, it just floats. It's amazing. And then this ends with a whole glossary that we've talked about, from everything about gas giants and dwarf planets to orbiters and satellites. There's so much to learn about space. And I hope you loved it. So between part 1 and part 2, you've got it covered. Thanks for being with me today on Stories with Lori, and I'll see you here next time.